Hey, what's up, guys? Max Chadwick alongside Dalton Wasserman here doing another division mock drafts, 3-round mock drafts for every team in the NFC South now. We're going to start off with the Carolina Panthers, currently picking number 6 overall in the NFL draft with a 4-12 record heading into the final week of the regular season. So we got the PFF Mock Draft Simulator pulled up right now. Of course, you can find the PFF Mock Draft Simulator at pff.com if you want to draft for the Panthers, your favorite team, or even all 32 NFL teams for a full 7 rounds. If you want to do it, you can at pff.com. Trade players, trade picks. It's the best mock draft simulator on the planet. But Carolina, number 6 overall. We're not going to do any trades in this mock draft. Well, you can if you want. But we're going to start the mock draft right now, Dawn, and let's see who's on the board for us right now. So you said before, if Mason Graham was on the board, you're taking Mason Graham, not thinking twice about it. He's not on the board right now for us. So can I say Abdul Carter?
I'm in on that. I think those are the two guys. This is a Panthers defensive line that's struggled all season. They need edge help. They need interior help. They will get Derek Brown back healthy next year, and he's obviously a superstar. I would have loved Graham in this spot. I think he's the best defensive player in this draft. I think he's one of the safest picks in this draft, but I could see him going top 5 like he did in this scenario. Abdul Carter has just proven down the stretch of the season for Penn State. He's an absolute freak of nature, and we know as draft season goes on, I think the Micah Parsons comps are going to be coming because he's just that freakish an athlete. He's got wicked bend off the edge. The Panthers, just a non-existent pass rush this year. I know they've tried to get it going lately, but the lowest pass rush grade in the league by far. It's not even close. They need help on this defensive line. That's the theme. If we can't get Graham, I'd be perfectly happy with Abdul Carter.
As you can see, most Panthers fans also agree with us to take Abdul Carter. Now, the one guy I would throw out there is Tedor McMillan. He is still on the board right here. Obviously, he would help out Bryce Young a lot as his true X receiver. So that's the one guy. I would still probably take Abdul Carter because I think they're that desperate along the defensive line. I agree with you. And he would kind of be really good like Brian Burns replacement, right? Like Brian Burns, extremely athletic pass rusher. They lost him to the New York Giants, or traded him away to the New York Giants, I should say. Abdul Carter would kind of fill that role beautifully as like another athletic pass rusher. So any thought to Tedor McMillan there? I agree Abdul Carter is probably my pick here, but I am, a little hesitant with Tedor McMillan still on the board.
Only if Graham and Carter were off the board. I think you have to go defense. Look, this is all the way around. This was, I would say, was the worst defense in football this year, and I know they had a boatload of injuries. They had all sorts of issues. Once Derek Brown got hurt, everything really cratered. They don't have a ton of talent or depth on the defensive line. I think it's the obvious pick to go with one of these two if they're still on the board. If for some reason they were both off the board, then I get in that line of thinking, but they are going nowhere until they fix any part of this defense.
Before we click it, sorry, producer want to kill me right now. Before we click it, the one thought I had was there's probably better second-round talent at edge defender than there is at wide receiver.
True. But I think at wide receiver, I think they can figure it out, and I have a feeling they might also be a team that might spend some money. I think they could be in on a Higgins.
That's true.
They could be in on a trade. They could be maybe if it's a Deebo Samuel type of trade. They have a ton of money to spend too. I think that could go towards the receiving core here. I get it. This is a team though that needs a premier talent, and I know we have a ton of D-line depth, but they need a guy like a Graham or a Carter, an absolute just number one. If you can get a Micah Parsons level pass rusher, you think that Carter has that potential. I think this is a team that needs that in the worst way. They need a premier guy. They can't mess around with guys who might turn out to be average or what have you.
So I think Tyler, I want to kill me right now. So take Abdul Carter here, but you can't go wrong because right now Carolina has the worst pass rush grade in the NFL, the worst run defense grade in the NFL, and the worst receiving grade in the NFL.
And if I'm being honest with you, I would consider maybe even doubling up on defensive line with this next pick. If we had somebody that I liked, if we went with an interior guy here, if there was someone we liked, I would consider doubling up. If not, we could go with another receiver. I don't hate it either. I think
Jaden Higgins is fun.
Jaden Higgins is fun. We definitely have options when it comes to this, but I think to get that premier pass rusher first, I think is huge. They need it in the worst way.
You need a premier pass rusher. You need a premier run defender. Alfred Collins is right there.
Oh, that's a pick right there. Now you start getting, now Ejiro Evero starts getting fun. That's one I would think about when you talk about now a movable piece like that in Alfred Collins, and you're talking about Derek Brown, who plays, anywhere in between the A and B gaps a lot. You can mess around with those two on the inside. I don't hate that either. When you talk about, I think I read something earlier this week that they're very close to becoming just the 4th team since the merger to give up 3,000 rushing yards in a season.
And as much as I love Abdul Carter, he is a terrific pass rusher. Run defense is still some work to be done there.
Sure, right? And it was his first year at the position. I mean, Collins would be a really, really good consideration here as one of the premier run defenders in college football the year he's had at Texas. I think it's either that or I could look into another receiver here.
I do love Jaden Higgins. I do.
He's really smooth.
He'll probably be a top 10 receiver for me in the draft.
You talk. I think he's at least close there for me. Also 6'3", big-bodied, smooth route runner. Not the most elite separator, but when I think you talk about having, let's say, Xavier Legette out there as he's another size speed kind of guy, but he's a downfield threat. Higgins makes a lot of those tough catches, right? Contested catches, intermediate catches. The more I watched him this year especially, it's like a first down machine, isn't he? He just has a nose for the chains. And I think a guy like that, Adam Thielen has that too, but he's getting a little older. He plays in the slot. I think there's some weapons to work with, and Higgins would make their team. He would make their offense better. He's just that big-bodied target that Bryce Young can rely on, right? So I think either of those picks would be fantastic picks.
Oh, gosh. I love both picks. I think we should go Jaden Higgins. I think just because we took Abdul Carter.
I could be in on that. I think the more that you look at the way that Bryce Young has played, you do want to continue to surround him. Now, that question might be answered in free agency. If they were to get a T. Higgins, ironically, then I don't need Jaden Higgins because that's the type of guy you're looking at. But in this scenario, not knowing what we're doing in free agency, I could be on board with that because now you're looking at Higgins, Legette, maybe Thielen comes back another year, Jalen Coker's shown flashes, Jatavian Sanders is getting involved. We know they can run the ball when Chuba Hubbard's healthy. I think it's not a bad choice. I could ride with Jaden Higgins here.
All right, let's do it. Jaden Higgins we're going with right here as our next pick, so pair him with Abdul Carter. We've got one more pick here in the third round, number 70 overall. Let's see if anyone stands out here.
There's a guy that jumps at me right there.
Cam Scadaboo?
No, well, Cam Scadaboo.
He always jumps out.
He always jumps at you. But I'll tell you what, if you were to get Kevin Winston in this spot in this defense, and I think
helps out the run defense too.
It helps the run defense. He's one of the best tacklers in the country, and this is a spot. He's a guy I keep looking at. If you get to steal him, the other one too, Lathan Ransom there, who's had a fantastic year, versatile player, great tackler too. I think when I look at those two guys, I look at guys who could help the Panthers because they have major issues at safety. That's the theme. Down the whole middle of their defense, we look okay with J.C. Horn at corner. We got to figure out the other side. Maybe a corner is in play here depending on who's on the board, but seeing the safeties that are this high on the board, I think that would help the Panthers a lot.
I think so too, and I really think KJ Winston would have been a guy that could have been a first-round pick if he stayed healthy all year. He had the partially torn ACL at Penn State that made him get surgery, so I love him, and I think getting him here in the third round would be a steal for Carolina. So, yeah, I like it. And also, like you said, it sounds weird saying a safety's going to help out your run defense, but KJ Winston's that good of a run defender that he actually would help out.
Oh, no, absolutely. He's arguably the best tackler in the country when he's healthy. I could go with that. Him or if Winston, again, if he wasn't on the board, Lathan Ransom would be a really good pick. I think it's safety. And between zone defenses and tackling and run support, that's what Ajiro Vera was looking for. It's kind of why I'm not going corner when I looked at that group of corners. That's a lot of man coverage type of corners, not really what they do. I'd be in on Winston. We're building the Penn State defense down in Carolina, apparently, is all we're doing.
Did you see that Jacksonville sniped us one pick earlier? Look what they just picked.
Yeah. I mean,
can you imagine if he fell to us?
Oh, we would have had a fun draft. You want to fix it in the trenches? We would have had it. We almost had it.
The guy we were considering in the second round almost fell to us in the third round there.
Hey, look, these are the things that happen. We've seen it. We've seen it before. You remember our Eagles snafu? You remember what happened there? Yeah. I think if Collins were on the board, I'd probably take him.
I sprint the card in.
The card in. But here, I'm good with Kevin Winston.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's put him with Abdul Carter. We'll keep your Penn State guys together. We'll keep it going. We get some really good defenders and a solid receiver here.
Absolutely. So just wrap up. We got Abdul Carter, we got Jaden Higgins, and Kevin Winston Jr. Got an A from the PFF Mock Draft Simulator. That's kind of rare. We're notoriously very tough graders.
They don't just give us those like candy either, especially us,
So absolutely, that's what we got for the Carolina Panthers mock draft. We got obviously a lot more mock drafts coming, continuing in the NFC South very soon, so stay tuned.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe the video. And if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, you can get one to see all the premium stats that we talked about here on the show, plus the expert betting and fantasy advice over at subscribe.pff.com. The description is also right below, so if you are not a PFF Plus subscriber, you can become one today.